This is my story, and I'm going to share the story with you on how I became successful as an ordinary person. Growing up as a kid, I was always inspired by my mom in prayer and seeking guidance. And all my life, I've sought guidance from God, and God has touched my life. He has showed favor upon me in my life. Anything I do, I pray. Anything I do, I put God first in my life. So therefore, I'm always been favored. I got married at an early age, and married a very, very wise woman that taught me a lot. And we've decided not to have this big grand wedding and overspend because we didn't have the money. And we needed that money to buy furniture and to buy other things that would have not put us into debt when we got married. That's a decision that my wife and I had to make together. And that's what made me love her even more at that time and want to marry her even more at that time because of the wise decisions we made. My success started off in budgeting and taking my salary and budgeting the stuff that I really need and ensuring that every month there is a surplus amount of money that I can use to invest or to save or to do something. It first started off as saving because obviously it wasn't enough to do an investment with. And I decided to buy a house and pay that towards a bond instead of paying it to somebody else as rent, because now when you pay to somebody, you're not getting that money back. If you're putting it on a bond, 20 years down the line or 15 years down or whatever bond period you took for, that investment's going to pay you back. It's an investment already you're starting. So that's your first investment every young couple should ever think of, is instead of renting, you buy your own place. Don't buy something fancy. Don't buy a palace. Don't buy a house with a swimming pool in it. All you need is something to shelter you, but something of your own. Something that you can spend your extra time, something that you can spend quality time with your family to build, to work on. When you take a bond with a bank and you take a home loan with a bank, and an example is your repayments is 3,000 Rand a month, okay? If you put in 3,500 a month, you eat that interest off so quick that you can drop your bond repayments in 5 years. So cutting down your budget, fine-tuning your budget gives you more for your investment. And the more you concentrate on your investment, straight away your investment is your bond. Your first investment start is your bond. You fine-tune everything else to pay more towards your bond, you quicken that bond. And the quicker you pay that bond off, now you've got your first 100 or 200,000 Rand that the house is worth. That's your money. That's your money. You can take that money now and you can sell that property, you can buy a better property, you can still have surplus money, and you can do more with it. Okay? You can decide to take whatever you make of that property and put it into a savings, which I did. I've sold my first house. I've made 95,000 Rand out of that house, and I've taken that money and I invested. I invested it at that time. I looked around for who's selling shares, and I bought the shares. I bought the shares and I left it. I just left it there, and I just had another bond that I was paying, and I went back into my same budget and I left those shares, and those shares grew. Over a period of time, those shares grew enough so I could take off that money and buy another property. Instead of joining friends in the pub, sit down with friends and have lunch with businessmen. Sit down with friends and have lunch with big directors. Sometimes it's good to be annoying to them because they will give you information or little information that you will be astonished by what you can do as a little man with that little information. Take that information and use it to your advantage. Because if you don't ask God to give you that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding every day you pray, and if you don't take that knowledge and use it to your advantage, it's never going to be a success. And it can only be a success if you practice it in your life. If I go back in my life, I can remember one time at the early age of my marriage, and my daughter was about 3 or 4 years old, and we had some family came over, and yes, we had a budget, and we had only a set amount of money that was put aside to entertain family and friends. And we went to the shopping mall to get the braai meat and to get the stuff to have a braai. And yeah, my daughter saw this doll that costed almost the price of the braai, and she threw a tantrum, and she was screaming and crying for this doll, and she wanted it, and I couldn't afford it. I couldn't go off my budget. If I bought it for her, I was gonna take off money off my electricity bill or take off money off my water account to buy the doll, and I couldn't afford it. So I picked her up and I took her out of the shop, gave my wife the wallet and asked her to continue with the shopping, and I'll take her outside and make her quiet. So I took her to the car, and she continued through a tantrum. So I put her into the car. She was grabbing onto me, so I forced her into the car, shouted at her, put her in the car, and I sat there trying to ignore her and trying to keep her quiet. And 3 cars away from me, there was an elderly white couple that walked over to me, and they asked me, why is the baby crying? So I told them, it's a tantrum. So I explained to them that she wanted a doll from the shop, and unfortunately it's not my budget, I can't afford it, and that is why I'm in the car and my wife's in the shopping. And they turned around and said to me, that's good, let her cry. And they asked me to jump out of the car, and they had a casual conversation about life in general. And it was a lesson that I've learned from that day, that no matter how much our kids will cry and scream and throw a tantrum at something, and if you can't afford, if it's not in your budget, be disciplined with your budget. If it's not in your budget, do not go out of your budget. Do not take money out of one of your accounts, one of your utility bills, to buy that for your kids, or to spend, or to give, or to do whatever with that money if you don't have. Stick to the budget. Say no. Find it in your heart to say no. It's going to hurt you. It hurt me to see my daughter cry in the car. As a young dad, I love her to death, but I had to say no. I had to look at the other way, say no. It's my pleasure to say that this system really works, because I've practiced it in my life, with starting with a salary of 1,800 Rand a month to today earning a salary of almost 30,000 Rand a month. And at the age of 47, guaranteed, no doubt, I'll be sitting here at 47 years old telling you that I'm retired and I'm in the Maldives, or I'm riding my jet ski. I think retirement age should never be 65 for any of us. I think retirement age should always be under 50, because if you retire under 50, you've been successful in life, so enjoy the rest of your life. And you don't have to stress now behind the office doors. Work hard now, put in all that effort now, so when you reach that age that you set your goals on retiring, you will retire. Stick to the budget. Stick to what you have, you will retire. I'm a proof of that, right? I think life is good. I can clearly say I can wake up tomorrow and I can leave this job and I can retire, and I can go sit at home and I can do some fishing. I will still have money in the bank that will still pay me a salary every month. But right now, I have still people that's under me that I need to develop. I still have people, a team that I'm building. I still have people that look up to me right now, in terms of trying to get them to where I am at the moment, and trying to get myself to complete where I am now at the moment. It's important for me right now to say I am happy with my life, and I do not have any regrets. I have a 16-year-old which I adore. I have a wife which I still adore. 17 years of marriage today, and I haven't made a mistake. I'm getting married at an early age, listening to good advice, listening to people that made mistakes so I can learn from them. I think I listen to a lot of people where they say money makes who you are. I don't think money makes who you are. I think who you are makes money, because who I was, a disciplined person, stuck to my budget, is where I made money from. Be disciplined, have a budget, listen to the right people, and you'll become successful. That is the true basic formula of financial budget freedom.